husband told me he married me because he couldn't marry my sister. He said it at his company Christmas party, drunk on whiskey and years of pretending. We were standing near the bar when his coworker Brett commented on how lucky he was to have such a beautiful wife. Yeah, well, you should see her sister, Dylan said, swaying a little. She's the real prize. This one's just the backup. Brett laughed awkwardly. I stood there holding my drink, feeling everything tilt. What did you just say? I asked. Dylan turned toward me like he'd forgotten I was standing beside him. Nothing, baby. Just guy talk. But Brett was already stepping away, saying he had to find his wife. You called me a consolation prize, I said. You're being overly sensitive. You said you wished you'd married Luna. He shrugged. Actually shrugged, Godas. You can't marry your wife's sister. That's not how it works. So you married me instead? Someone had to marry you first, he said like it was obvious, like it had always been planned. 8 years. 8 years of marriage, and he was telling me he chose me because I was the only path to my younger sister. We're leaving, I said. The party's just getting good. We're leaving. Now. In the car, he tried to undo it. I didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it? Luna's gorgeous. Everyone knows that. You know that. But I picked you because I couldn't pick her. That's not. When I met you both that summer at your parents' house, Luna was 18 and you were 23. It made more sense. What made more sense? He sighed like I was being unreasonable. Dating you. She was too young. Your parents would have lost it. But you were perfect. Same family, same genetics, just more appropriate. Same genetics. Like I was a placeholder with the right DNA. Did you ever love me? I asked. Of course I love you. You're my wife. That's not an answer. What do you want me to say? That I never noticed how beautiful your sister is? That I never wondered what if? Everyone does. Not about their wife's sister. Not for 8 years. We drove in silence. When we got home, I went straight to the bedroom and pulled out suitcases. What are you doing? He asked. What does it look like? You're overreacting. So I find your sister attractive. So what? I married you. We have kids. He grabbed my arm. Stop being dramatic. You can't leave over this. Watch me. And go where? Your parents? What will you tell them? That I think Luna's pretty? They'll call you childish. I'll tell them the truth, that you admitted you married me because you couldn't have my sister. I was drunk. Drunk words are sober thoughts. My phone rang. It was Luna. Hey, are you okay? Brett's wife called me. Said something happened at Dylan's party. I put her on speaker. I'm fine. She said Dylan talked about me. Something about wishing, she wouldn't say what. Dylan went pale. Luna, what exactly did she tell you? I asked. Just that Dylan said something inappropriate about marrying the wrong sister. Is that true? I looked at Dylan. Why don't you ask him? Dylan? Luna said, sharper now. What did you say? Nothing. It was taken out of context. What context makes that okay? You're married to my sister. You have 2 kids. What's wrong with you? Everyone always fawns over you, Dylan snapped. At every family dinner, every event. Luna the model, Luna the influencer, Luna the perfect one. And I'm stuck with... Stuck with what? I said. Finish the sentence. With someone who'll never measure up, he muttered. Luna gasped through the phone. You piece of... Lily is worth 10 of you. She's smart, kind, funny. God, she helped you get your job. She supported you through your father's death. She raises your kids practically on her own, and you're stuck? Luna. No, don't ever speak to me again. Don't look at me. Don't come to family events. You're disgusting. She paused. Lily, do you need somewhere to stay? I'm packing. Come here. The kids can take the spare room. Luna, this isn't your problem, Dylan said. It became my problem when you made me part of your messed up fantasy, she snapped. What else do you do? Stare at my photos? Compare us? Pretend she's me? Stop, Dylan said. No, I want to know, how long have you been imagining my sister as me? Since the wedding? The honeymoon? Stop, he shouted. I'm done, Luna said. Lily, doors unlocked. And Dylan? I'm telling everyone. Mom, Dad, our cousins. Everyone needs to know what kind of man you've been. She hung up. Dylan stared at me. This is your fault. My fault? You had to make a scene. Now she hates me. Your family will hate me. You caused this. You admitted you married me because you wanted access to my sister. I didn't say it exactly like that. You called me a consolation prize. You said you're stuck with me. Because it's true, he exploded. You're ordinary. You're boring. You're not special. Luna lights up every room. You just exist in them. I stopped packing and really looked at him, his thinning hair, soft middle, bitter expression. If you want to continue the rest, just send it. You want the truth? I said. Yes. I've known for 3 years you settled for me. I felt it every time you told me to try Luna's workout routine. Every time you asked why I couldn't dress more like her. Every family event when you watched her more than me. I convinced myself marriage meant accepting being second choice. But hearing you actually say it, out loud, that broke something I can't fix. He went white. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. I kept packing, my hands shaking. He stood there watching me empty the closet like he couldn't believe it was real. Guest room, I said. Sleep there tonight. I need to finish. For once, he didn't argue. I heard the guest room door close, and the silence felt heavy but strangely clear, like I could finally breathe. 9 minutes later, my phone rang. Luna. Mom and Dad are driving up tomorrow morning, she said, furious. I told them everything Brett's wife heard. They'll be here first thing. You won't have to explain alone. Relief hit so hard I had to sit down. I spent the night moving around the room like a ghost. The photos on the dresser, our wedding, the kids' births, vacations, looked like snapshots of a life I thought was real but now felt staged. I packed what mattered. Clothes, toys, school things, my laptop, documents. I left behind 8 years with someone who'd spent the whole time wishing I was someone else. The kids woke at 7 asking for breakfast. I made pancakes and told them we were staying at Aunt Luna's for a few days. My daughter thought it sounded like a sleepover. My son asked why, and I used the careful phrases you learn from divorced parents. Mommy and Daddy need some space to figure things out. They accepted it quickly, already asking about their tablets. Dylan came out looking wrecked, messy hair, red eyes. He tried to kiss the kids goodbye, but our son pulled away. Why does Daddy look sad? He asked. Daddy's just tired, I said. Say goodbye so we can go. My daughter hugged him. My son only waved. Dylan's face crumpled, but I felt nothing for him. He'd chosen his words. He'd chosen the consequences. The calls started coming from numbers I didn't recognize. When I answered, it was Dylan every time, using different phones because I had blocked his main one. His first voicemail was apologetic, asking me to speak with him. An hour later, another number called, and this message was angry, accusing me of turning everyone against him. Then the cycle repeated. New number, new tone, switching between remorse and blame. Jamaica told me to save every voicemail and text as evidence, explaining that the pattern of back-and-forth behavior would matter in court. I created a folder on my phone just for his messages, and it filled quickly. Marissa stopped by Luna's place with coffee and updates from our neighborhood. She heard from Brett's wife that several people at Dylan's company had filed complaints with HR about things he said at the Christmas party. Apparently, Dylan already had a reputation for making comments about Luna that made coworkers uncomfortable. Brett was called into HR to describe what he witnessed, and others stepped forward with their own accounts. One woman said Dylan had shown her Luna's social media pictures and made inappropriate remarks. Another said he publicly compared his wife to his sister-in-law at multiple company events. According to Marissa, the entire office was discussing it, and Dylan's boss was upset. My stomach turned, realizing his fixation on Luna had been visible to others while I was at home thinking our marriage was stable. I got the kids temporary counseling through their school to help them process everything. Their counselor was kind and familiar with divorce situations. After the first session, she told me they were coping overall, but my son kept asking whether his dad stopped loving his mom. Hearing that shattered me because I didn't know how to explain that Dylan had never loved me in the way a husband should. The counselor said it was common for children to worry the parent who left might stop loving them too. She gave me ways to reassure them that both parents cared about them, even if we couldn't live together. My daughter seemed to handle everything better, but she had started having nightmares about our family falling apart. Then Dylan's mother contacted Luna, asking to meet privately without Dylan knowing. I didn't want to, but Luna said she sounded genuinely heartbroken. Against my instincts, I agreed to see her at a cafe near Luna's apartment. I expected little, but I thought hearing her out might help. The meeting was tougher than I imagined. Dylan's mother was already crying when I arrived, her eyes swollen as if she hadn't slept. Before we even ordered, she was apologizing. She said she had suspected Dylan had an unhealthy interest in Luna, but convinced herself marriage and children would fix him. I ordered coffee for both of us as she tried to gather herself. She described small moments she'd noticed over the years. Dylan's eyes following Luna at gatherings, finding excuses to sit near her at holidays. She once told Ezekiel about it, but he dismissed her concerns. I listened, feeling strangely distant from the situation. Then she told me something that made everything harder. Ezekiel had urged Dylan to marry me quickly because he believed I was stable and would ground him. Her exact phrasing was that Ezekiel saw me as good wife material who would keep Dylan on track. She apologized for staying silent when she saw Dylan staring at Luna during our wedding reception. She apologized for overhearing him talk about Luna to his brother and doing nothing. She apologized for believing her son was better than his actions. I thanked her and left feeling more betrayed than before. I scheduled an appointment with a therapist, Callista Brooks, who specializes in relationship betrayal. Her office was calm, softly lit, with tissues everywhere. The first session was mostly me crying while she listened. I told her everything, from the Christmas party to the journal, to finding out even Dylan's mother suspected something. Callista didn't dismiss or minimize anything. She said that realizing my marriage was built on being someone's second choice was deeply traumatic and that I needed to grieve. She explained I wasn't mourning only the end of my marriage, but the imagined version of it that I thought existed for 8 years. By the end of the session, I felt exhausted but finally understood. She assigned me journaling homework and scheduled weekly sessions. 2 weeks later, Jamaica emailed me a file labeled counterpetition. Dylan had filed for divorce, claiming irreconcilable issues and requesting equal custody. I stared at the document at Luna's table as she made coffee. Jamaica called to say this was normal. Both sides usually file paperwork. But we needed to respond thoroughly, documenting Dylan's long-term behavior of putting me down and comparing me to Luna. She told me to write every instance I could remember. That night, I filled 3 pages before my hands started shaking. The kids' first overnight stay with Dylan was scheduled for Friday. I packed their bags, unpacked them, and repacked them again because my mind kept spinning. Luna found me sitting on the floor, surrounded by clothes and toys, and helped me finish. She reminded me Dylan had cared for them before, and they'd be okay for one night. But when I dropped them off, watching them walk inside with their small backpacks, I felt sick. Back at Luna's apartment, I paced for hours. She tried to distract me with a movie, but I couldn't sit still. I barely slept, checking my phone constantly, even though I knew Dylan wouldn't call unless something happened. When I picked the kids up the next morning, they seemed happy. My daughter showed me a drawing, and my son told me about pancakes Dylan made. Then my daughter asked why we couldn't all live together again if Daddy promised to be nicer. I told her sometimes parents need to live separately, even when they love their kids very much. Her question stayed with me all weekend. On Monday, Luna showed me a message from someone claiming to be Dylan's friend. They accused her of breaking up our family by being too attractive, saying she should feel ashamed. Luna screenshot it and posted it online, writing a long caption explaining that men blaming women for their own choices reveal exactly why they can't be trusted. She made it clear Dylan's behavior was his own responsibility. The post spread quickly and had hundreds of comments by Tuesday. I worried the attention would escalate things. Luna came home to find me scrolling through responses. I told her I feared Dylan would react badly. She reminded me he had already made the situation public at his work party. She wasn't going to protect his reputation when he didn't protect mine. The following week, Jamaica sent me documents Dylan's lawyer submitted. In them, he claimed Luna had always manipulated him, and that I misinterpreted his journal, saying it was just a place where he wrote thoughts he never intended to act on. Reading his version of events made my chest tighten. He painted himself as someone overwhelmed by stress, not someone who spent years fantasizing about another woman. Jamaica reminded me that exaggerations and reframing were common in divorce cases. "We have the evidence," she said. "Stay focused." Meanwhile, things at Dylan's workplace became tense. Brett told Marissa that HR had opened a formal investigation, not just into his behavior toward Luna, but also into unprofessional remarks he made about our marriage. A few employees said Dylan often joked about being trapped as a husband and father. Others reported he shared personal details about our relationship without consent. Hearing all of this made me feel like our private life had been exposed long before the separation. My therapist, Callista, worked with me on identifying what she called false responsibility. I tended to assume I caused Dylan's choices or could have prevented them if I had been more patient, more supportive, or more perceptive. She told me that people who are betrayed often rewrite their own history, trying to find logic where there is none. She encouraged me to separate Dylan's decisions from my worth, but it was difficult. I left every session feeling drained, but lighter. One afternoon, while I was helping the kids with homework at Luna's table, Dylan texted asking if he could stop by to drop off something for them. I told him to leave it in the lobby. He responded with a long message accusing me of turning the children against him and refusing to communicate. I didn't respond. Luna read the text and shook her head. She said Dylan was trying to provoke me into arguing because it would make him feel more in control. I muted his number again. That weekend, my parents came to visit. They brought food and insisted on helping with laundry, cooking, and keeping the kids entertained. My mother pulled me aside and apologized for not realizing how much I'd been carrying. My father told me that anger would come later, after the shock wore off. I cried through most of the weekend. Having them there made me feel safe. On Sunday evening, after my parents left, Dylan's mother messaged me again. She said Dylan had been calling her daily, ranting about Luna's viral post and claiming she intentionally humiliated him. She apologized again, saying she didn't know how to help her son without enabling him. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. The next custody exchange didn't go smoothly. When I arrived, Dylan was standing outside with the kids. He tried to talk to me, asking if we could work something out privately. His tone was calm, but something felt off. I told him the lawyers were handling everything. He stepped closer and said the kids deserved a united family, not a mess created by outside influences. I realized he meant Luna, but didn't argue. I just took the kids and left. My hands shook on the steering wheel the whole drive back. If you have more text, just send it, and I'll continue word for word. Later that night, I received a message from an unknown number, a long paragraph blaming me for dividing the family, saying I had ruined a man over a diary. The message claimed Dylan had been a devoted husband and that I overreacted because of my insecurities. The wording sounded like something Dylan would write, but I couldn't be sure. I forwarded it to Jamaica. She advised me to save every message and block the number. The kids were having good days and bad days. My son started withdrawing during school, and his teacher emailed to say he seemed distracted. My daughter became clingier at bedtime. I scheduled another meeting with their counselor, who suggested a few routines to help them feel more secure. She said consistency would matter more than anything else right now. Luna did her best to support me, but she also felt guilty. One night, she sat beside me on the couch and admitted she sometimes wished she looked different, so none of this would have happened. I told her it wasn't her fault, and that Dylan's fixation wasn't about her. It was about what he projected onto her. She nodded, but didn't look convinced. The HR investigation at Dylan's company concluded at the end of the month. He was placed on leave pending further review. Marissa told me he had been furious, telling colleagues he was being targeted by people who misunderstood him. His boss reportedly said Dylan created a hostile environment by discussing personal obsessions at work. Around the same time, Jamaica informed me that Dylan requested temporary primary custody for the month, claiming his work leave gave him more availability. My stomach dropped. Jamaica wasn't worried, but I was. She drafted a response emphasizing the children's stability and the emotional upheaval they had already faced. She said judges prioritize routine, and uprooting the kids now would likely be denied. Still, the idea of losing time with my children made me physically ill. 2 days later, someone posted anonymously on a local forum accusing Luna of purposely seducing married men. They used cropped photos from her social media and claimed she destroyed a family for attention. Luna found the post before I did. She laughed bitterly, saying she expected something like this eventually, but I could tell it bothered her. She reported the account, and friends of hers flooded the thread defending her, but the whole thing made my chest ache. That night, Dylan left me a voicemail. It was calm and almost emotionless. He said he hoped I would get over my anger soon because this can't go on forever. He didn't mention the kids. He didn't acknowledge anything he had caused. I saved the voicemail like Jamaica told me to. Then, the next morning, everything escalated. Dylan showed up at Luna's building without warning. I was getting the kids ready for school when Luna called from the lobby, her voice low and tense. She said Dylan was downstairs demanding to see me. My heart raced. I told her not to let him up and said I'd call Jamaica immediately. Before I could dial, Luna whispered, "He's trying to push past the desk. Just stay where you are." Then she hung up. I rushed the kids into the bedroom and locked the door, trying to keep my voice steady as I told them to stay quiet. My daughter asked if we were playing a game. I told her yes. My hands were shaking so badly that I could barely text Luna to ask if she was okay. She didn't respond. A minute later, my phone buzzed. It was the building manager saying Dylan had been removed from the lobby and asked not to return. He said security had video footage in case I needed it for legal reasons. My knees nearly gave out from relief. Luna came upstairs 20 minutes later, pale but physically unharmed. She said Dylan had demanded to see me, insisting I was avoiding him on purpose. When the front desk told him I wasn't available, he raised his voice and tried to walk past them. Security intervened and escorted him out. Luna apologized over and over for being the one he confronted. I hugged her and thanked her for stepping in. I called Jamaica, who told me this incident actually strengthened our case. She suggested filing for a protective order, given Dylan's unannounced visit and aggressive behavior. I didn't want to escalate things, but she reminded me that safety, mine and the kids, had to come first. We filed the paperwork that afternoon. That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me think someone was at the door. The kids sensed something was wrong and slept next to me. My son asked if Daddy was in trouble. I didn't know how to answer, so I just held him close. The next day, Dylan's mother called crying. She said Dylan told her a false story, claiming Luna attacked him and that he had only wanted to talk. She said she knew something wasn't right and asked for the truth. I explained what happened as calmly as I could. She apologized repeatedly. She said she was scared of what Dylan might do next, not to me, but to himself. I didn't know how to respond. Over the next week, Dylan sent a series of messages that swung between calm and accusatory. Some were long apologies. Others claimed I was turning everyone against him. One message said I was ruining his life because of jealousy, and another said he would never forgive me for destroying our family. Jamaica told me not to engage. I didn't. The kids continued their counseling sessions. Their counselor said they seemed anxious during transitions and recommended a consistent handoff location with staff present. We switched to the supervised exchange center the following week. It felt strange walking into a building designed for parents who couldn't safely interact, but it also made me feel more secure. Around this time, Luna decided to stay with a friend for a few days. She felt guilty for leaving me alone, but said she needed space from the constant stress and online harassment. I encouraged her to go. The apartment felt quiet without her, but I understood. A few days later, Jamaica called with unexpected news. Dylan's company had officially terminated him. The HR investigation concluded he created a hostile work environment, made inappropriate comments, and violated multiple policies. They delivered the news by email since his access badge had already been disabled during leave. Jamaica said this might affect custody decisions, but not in the way I feared. Judges tend to question stability when a parent loses employment due to misconduct. That same evening, Dylan sent me a message that was unlike the others. It was short. "I hope you're happy." No anger, no apology, just those 4 words. I didn't reply. A few days later, someone slid an envelope under Luna's apartment door. Inside was a printed packet. Dylan's counterpetition updated again. In it, he claimed Luna and I had aligned to ruin his reputation and that my emotional reaction to his journal was disproportionate. He also claimed my environment was unstable because I was living with someone who publicly criticized him. Jamaica told me not to worry. None of it held weight without evidence. But seeing my life described that way made me feel small. That night, I sat at the table after the kids fell asleep and reread the journal pages I had photographed. I didn't cry this time. I didn't feel shock anymore, just a dull ache. I realized I was starting to accept the truth. Dylan had never been the person I believed he was. The marriage I mourned had existed only in my interpretation of his actions, not in his intentions. Weeks passed, the kids began adjusting to the new routine. Luna returned home. My parents visited again. I kept going to therapy. Slowly, the fog lifted. Then, one afternoon, my lawyer called with the final update. The judge reviewed everything: Dylan's journal entries, the HR investigation, the unannounced visit, the messages, the counseling notes, and my documentation. Temporary custody was awarded primarily to me. Dylan would have scheduled visitation with restrictions. The judge also approved a partial protective order, preventing Dylan from approaching my residence. When I hung up, I felt a quiet, steady relief. Not joy, but something close to peace. Later that evening, Luna and I sat on the balcony while the kids slept. She asked if I thought I'd ever trust someone again. I told her I didn't know, but I was learning to trust myself. And for now, that was enough. My life didn't return to what it was before, but it started becoming something new, something that felt like mine.